Hey everybody, this is Tim, and I wanted to give a video response to TowerGuardDM about his RPG bits and how he kind of relates to things and kind of the enjoyment factor he gets out of RPGs. And I want to always talk about, also want to talk about is preferences. Just because you prefer something doesn't mean it's right or wrong or black or white. There's a lot of gray areas and things, and I think the RPG minis versus not using minis thing is kind of one of those areas where you can have strong feelings about it, but that doesn't mean that because you have strong feelings about it that other person that has strong feelings about doing the opposite thing is the bad guy or wrong or whatever. So as far as my preferences go, I only really like to use minis when it's a complex battle and there's crap all over the place and there's 50 goblins attacking and I couldn't keep that track in my head if I wanted to. But if it's just for instance in my Labyrinth Lord game there was this skeleton thing that had all these strange arms and it was made out of the skeleton bones, 15 different skeletons, but it was one thing. And do you really need to represent that with a miniature? I was describing it's rotting bones and flesh hanging off it, and it's slashing and stuff. And because I think it wasn't on the table, I think it brought a little bit more life to the situation. And there was no real terrain. It was just inside a fairly large room, so everybody could get to it. So I would ask them well, what are you doing? Well, I'm gonna go over here and attack it from the side. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna jump off this wall and attack it, and I'm gonna turn it with my holy symbol. And it was kind of dynamic. But like I said, for my preferences, I guess I'm kind of in the middle, but I've been trying to lean more towards not using miniatures. I have lots of miniatures. In fact, let's see what I can find over here. I've got this giant tackle box. And it's got all my old Ral Partha and Dark Heaven, Reaper miniatures. There's a lot of crap in there. And I also got some down here. They're kind of wedged in there a little bit. You can see all these, well, I guess some ones on the bottom have emptied out, but you get the idea. That's a lot of miniatures to lug around places. And I used to do that all the time. I used to just drag things out, and I'd always worry, well, how am I gonna carry everything down to the store to play my game? So when I'm running this Labyrinth Lord game, I'm do I have everything? I don't need a map. I don't need my miniatures. If I really need to represent where things are, I can just throw some dice out there. Okay, all those white D6s, those are the goblins. Where are you guys, just to kind of give you guys an idea where stuff is. So in a lot of respects, it's kind of nice to, I don't know, just kind of run things as they come. Have maybe a little bit of an idea what the encounter is going to be, and then just have it happen. So I don't know. It's I can see why you're frustrated, because I think it's a matter of rules. Maybe there's just too many rules, maybe restricting things, versus like I've talked about before, it's easier to add miniatures to a game than it is to kind of weed them out of the rules. With 3rd edition and 3.5, with the attacks of opportunity and how things interact on the battle mat, and threat ranges and different squares where you could threat criticals and stuff, it definitely had a little bit more of a focus on miniatures. And it was I think it was a lot easier to take miniatures out of that than perhaps 4th edition, but it can be done, but it takes a lot of work. And I like when RPGs give you options versus this is the way it is, deal with it. It's if you're a player that doesn't like miniatures, it kind of sucks. It's for instance, 3rd edition, if I wanted to get rid of all the attacks of opportunity, I would have to go through read all the feats, any references to attack of opportunities I'd have to remove. I'd have to talk about how I'm going to do things differently, because players coming into a game that was supposedly 3rd edition or 3.5 would expect those things. So whenever I try to do that, I kind of butt up against a wall sometimes, because they're like, well, what do you mean we're not using miniatures? That's kind of weird. So I think I know what you're saying. You have fun with them, but it's like this extra burden. It's this extra... You don't prefer it that way. You prefer it more fluid and more cerebral. And I think I'm that way too. So when it comes to like preferences and what you're doing, if you're that burned out or not, it's not burned out. I don't want to use that word because that has a different connotation. But if you don't prefer a system that uses all these miniatures, and you're starting to learn that, I kind of like those older rules that they weren't as defined and they weren't as focused on miniatures, then it's okay. You're allowed to have gaming preferences. I know sometimes people, I don't know, get kind of all up in arms about edition wars and all that stuff, but I don't see anything wrong with saying, I like the newest rules. That's cool with me. You want to play the newest rules that focus on using miniatures, that's cool. I don't care. Just don't make me play if I don't like that. That's all. I found it in my years of gaming, and I've bought a lot of books over the years. And I've read through a bunch of them. I like things that are system heavy or have a cool system or setting. And then the mechanics just are there enough to get you by. It doesn't answer all the questions, and you don't have to use miniatures for things. You can if you want to. So that's my preference. I don't know. I think it comes down sometimes to just accepting how it is. What you're like, what your preferences are. It's okay. You don't. Like I think I put a video out a while ago with like, okay, here's a bunch of settings or RPGs that I like that I can't get anybody to play because no one else likes them. That's okay. It's like it is what it is. I wouldn't stress about it. Maybe if you can't get players to play a different game, maybe sit out for a while, be a player again, and maybe. Delegate some authority. That might be a good suggestion. In games that where miniatures are heavily implied. Instead of you trying to keep it all in your head, make the players keep it all in their head. And have some sort of honor system. Depending on your players, that might work or might not work, but the whole delegating authority thing as a GM that seems to be kind of popular in today's RPGs is letting other people keep track of stuff. Why should one player have all the responsibility on their shoulders every week, and everybody else just comes in? You're like, woo, yeah, let's just sit down and play. I don't have to do nothing. That's, I don't know, it's kind of unfair. I like running games, but I also kind of like that ability to just show up and have fun. And I don't know. I'm trying to find something cool to tell you. I think what I'm trying to say is that there's middle grounds in some things, and it's okay to have preferences. And if you're feeling something, like honestly feeling it, you really shouldn't deny it. It's like, it is what, it's what's going on. Why should you deny what you're honestly feeling? If you're playing a game that focus heavy on miniatures and you find yourself recollecting about the old days when you didn't have miniatures and it just seemed so more dramatic and there was lots more description used by the GM because he had to describe things because there wasn't a plastic miniature on the table, that could be your preference. You said you still have fun in games that are RPG focused, or not RPG focused, miniatures focused, but maybe it's just like a... games without miniature rules are like at the top of the pile, and games with miniatures rules are kind of like at the bottom or in the middle somewhere. And that's okay. All right. I don't know. It cut off again. Just I guess what I'm trying to think of how to say is maybe you're like a round peg and you're trying to jam yourself into a triangle hole. You know, maybe. I mean, it sounds like you gave it a fair shake. It sounds like, I mean, you bought all the stuff, you bought all the tokens and whatever, and all the fiddly bits, like you said, and you tried it out, and you find that the upkeep, like the putting all the stuff on the table, and like that part in the video where you're touching all the bags and talking about, you know, oh, this guy's this and this is affecting this, and it's just too much. It sounds like for you. It's like at times it's like it's the fact that your eye is focusing down on physical things that are essentially just little toys and little pieces of plastic. And it's almost like that focus on what's physically there is keeping the ability to imagine things when they're not there, you know, it's keeping it from happening. So I think that's what is going on. It's just the fact that the detail in the figures is almost replacing the images that are in your own mind, your mind's eye, as you said. I don't know, man. I've seen that you got a lot of responses to this video, and that's good. I think a lot of us are, you know, we think you're a great guy, man. We all try to get along, and I think we're all pretty decent people, and you know, we have a lot of, like, you know, feelings for the hobby and you know, fellow RPG enthusiasts. But I don't know, just take everybody's thoughts and, you know, just listen to what's going on inside. You know, if you can come up with ways to make it more fun, that's cool. It sounds like you're kind of torn, like you like them, but you miss the old days, and you know, maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's not right and wrong. It's like one is just slightly more preferred than the other, or I don't know. I hope you get through it. I hope you figure out what you like. And you were talking about your GMing style, and for me, my GMing style is doing a little bit of prep, not a lot of game prep, showing up at the table, and maybe having a map or something, maybe, you know, having a little bit of direction figured out. Then I ask my players where they want to go, what they want to do. I'm more sandboxy kind of a GM. I usually like rules light RPGs because they allow you to have less prep time, and I find myself procrastinating a lot for game prep. So like I said, I'll show up, I'll have my rules, I'll have the setting stuff. Usually the setting stuff is a lot larger than my rules. My rules just kind of like a means to an end. They are there, like, I just need enough to get me going and give me something to roll dice with to figure situations out and have a little bit of luck and chaos in there, and then I just roll with it. You know, a lot of times I'll have something written down. Again, I'm running my Labyrinth Lord campaign, and I just have numbers on the map, just a mega dungeon, and it'll say, like, it'll have like one sentence, like, this thing is in there and it doesn't like elves or something, whatever it is, and that's all I have for game prep. Just a general idea of, like, what's in there and what it might be like. But at the table, depending on how the information the players are giving me and just the feel of the previous encounters, sometimes it'll just feel wrong. Like, you know, this encounter is not going to work right here. So I'm going to scratch this out, and I'm just going to just roll with it, whatever comes into my head. And I'm pretty good to just opening up, and I don't know, I always call it like my dark muse, you know, like there's this like creative side of me that I just open myself up to, and then all this crap just pours out of me, and like my friends are like, wow, you must have spent hours doing that crap. Where did you come up with all that crazy crap? And it just flows, you know, it just flies out of me. Like, doesn't always happen. There's some days where I got like that writer's block where I'm not feeling very creative. But that stuff's easier. It seems like to me it's easier to just let go and just let the game almost have a life of its own if there isn't so much focus on, you know, heavy mechanics and, I don't know, just all these fiddly bits with different types of damage, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling. I don't even know if this is helping you, man. But I think what I'm trying to say is just try to figure out what actually is going on, and just be accepting of it. Don't lie to yourself. I think that's what I'm trying to say, and that it's okay. It's really okay. All right, man. I'll talk to everybody later. Talk to you later.